Hey, what's up, guys? Matt Manduke here. I'm out here at the Morris River Bluffs. That's not what I'm here to talk to you about today. Today I have for you another rhetorical thought. But before I get into that, I want to mention if you're new here, please subscribe. Plenty of new stuff always coming, and there's plenty of stuff that has already passed that you might find entertaining. So let me get into it. Today's topic on rhetorical thought is old versus new cars. I'm going to list pros and cons of both, and I'll let you guys decide what you think is better, whether it be an old car or a new car. I don't mean the old hoopty broken down cars. I mean if these cars were in the best condition possible. In other words, a fully restored classic car versus a brand new car. And I don't even just necessarily mean the muscle cars or the supercars or any of that. I mean cars in general. I'm going to start with older cars. In the case of older cars, they're much easier to work on, especially for the older generation of people. They understand them better, and they're easy to understand. A carburetor is very easy to understand. The transmissions aren't all computer controlled. They're very easy to work on.
Obviously, you really know nothing about car repair.
And they have a certain style to them. I love the way classic cars look because they have a certain styling. And even the newer cars that are styled to look like those don't hold a candle to the classic style. Then, of course, there's the amount of power. Back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the automotive industry was into putting a bigger motor into a car in order to make it go faster. And yes, that did work, but they didn't reduce the weight. So you ended up with some big, heavy cars that had a ton of power, much like my van. If we look at newer cars, obviously there's a lot more safety features involved, and many people may not understand what the safety features are, but they're not just a big, heavy machine that, your only safety mechanism is the front bumper. Now, in the case of my van, yeah, it is a safety mechanism, but in the case of your Honda Civic, not so much. Airbags, seat belts. There were seat belts in older cars. They didn't tighten up when you slammed on the brakes. They weren't all controlled like that. In the case of the check engine light, there's many people that hate this thing because there's a sensor everywhere, and usually it's the sensor that goes bad and not actually a problem with the vehicle. But the fact is, when the check engine light goes off, it tells you where the problem is. Whereas in an older car, there was no check engine light. If you had a problem, usually it was already too late and you had a major problem. And then you had to find out what the problem was. And in a lot of cases, that caused people to do a lot of guesswork. Newer cars, as far as power is concerned, the brand new Camaro, the brand new Charger, the brand new Mustang, they make a hell of a lot more power than the older ones do. Now, they're not necessarily built for the quarter mile anymore because that's not really what automotive industries do for racing. Even the Corvette, they do okay in a quarter mile off the lot, unless you're talking about the Dodge Demon, which is a very expensive car that's built to keep up with a 1968 Z28. Then, yeah, they're quarter mile cars. But for the most part, the newer cars, they're for a lot more than just a quarter mile. They like cornering. They are fun on tracks. And this is just mentioned in domestics, but even the imports have come a long way as far as power is concerned. Then there's a hell of a lot more fuel economy.
Here comes another funny.
If you talk about fuel economy with a guy who owns a 70 Camaro, he's going to laugh in your face because there's a good chance his car gets maybe 5 miles to the gallon if he's lucky. If you talk to a guy who has a 2010 Camaro, if he has the SS model, there's a good chance he's getting 30 miles to the gallon as long as he's not putting his foot into the pedal all the time. Then if we get into dependability, the older generation of cars, they figured that 100,000 miles was high mileage. Most people didn't know how to maintain a transmission because there was no need to, because the motor was bad after 100,000 miles. So if they were looking to go 200,000 or 300,000 miles, they were looking to replace the motor or transmission a couple times. Nowadays, you're more likely to replace the transmission than you are a motor because the motors are designed to go so much further than the transmission. The transmissions are designed to have high mileage, but most people don't believe in maintaining their transmission because they were taught by their parents, and their parents didn't maintain the transmission because the motor didn't last. Nowadays, you have to maintain your transmission because the motor is going to outlast your transmission if you don't maintain your transmission. Clearly, I prefer newer vehicles because they're more dependable, they get better fuel economy, and they have more horsepower altogether. But that's up to you guys if you think the older cars or newer cars are better. And let me see if I can't find a video of a crash test between, I think it's a 56 Bel Air versus a Chevy Malibu.
I just feel like it's not important to anyone.
So, if you guys enjoyed this and you want to see what other thoughts I have, go ahead and check out this playlist here. Or if you want to see what I'm like when I'm mushy, check out this playlist here. As always, guys, you want to subscribe, like the video, and comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Thanks for watching. I'll see all my friends later.